This is the Justicefighter Podcast. With attorney Gerald Griggs. Where we have conversations on social justice, civil rights, and political news that affects us all. Let attorney Griggs put you on game. Only on the Justicefighter Podcast, y'all.
What's going on, guys? It's attorney Gerald Griggs, the Justicefighter, and we're here on the Justicefighter Podcast on Justice Media. And it's been an interesting week. It's been an interesting month. It's been an interesting time, both in Georgia and the United States. And I wanted to bring one of the most phenomenal people I know that's holding it down in the Georgia legislature. I want to bring in State Representative Erica Thomas. But before I do that, I want to introduce her correctly. So Erica Thomas is the state representative from District 39. She's the founder of Speak Out Loud, a local nonprofit dedicated to giving voice to foster children. She was recognized by the Georgia Center for Nonprofits as a nonprofit leader and was given a 30 Under 30 award in 2016. Erica is originally from Fayetteville, North Carolina, and grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee. And then she came down to Georgia and she started fighting for the people. She started so many projects that have given her this exceptional ability to speak to people where they are. She is just one of my good friends, and I wanted to bring her on the platform so we can have a frank conversation about what's happening in Georgia right now with the coronavirus, but everything that's going on down at the Gold Dome. So without further ado, I want a round of applause for State Representative Erica Thomas. Hey, Erica, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. So how is everything going over there in Cobb County?
Man, it's going. It's definitely going. You know, it's so many things going on, and I get so many different calls from my constituents, and it's a lot. It's a lot, but we're trying to get through it, you know, day by day, and hopefully we can get through this and move on to more things that we need to conquer in 2020.
Okay, so let's kind of start at the beginning. When did you first hear about the potential pandemic called coronavirus?
Well, I have a friend, one of my best friends. She is living in China right now. She is teaching out there, and she's been living through this for a long time. And so I talk to her probably a couple times a week, and you know, I've really been, you know, talking to her while she's been staying in, and she's been, you know, telling me all about it and how China has been dealing with it, you know, and how she has a barcode and she goes to the grocery store, you know, once a week. She can only go once a week. And if her barcode scan's red, that means she's been out more than once a week and has to go again. I mean, I have really heard the gamut about what has been going on. So when it hit America, I was already kind of like, you know, living through her while she was in China. And I'm not saying that I was ready for it, but I had already had, you know, stay home type of language in my mind.
Wow. So she had a barcode. Why does she have a barcode?
So that's how they do it out in China. That's how they say their order. They have barcodes. So when they go out, I know in her part of China where she's in a city that has about 4 million people. And when they go out, you know, if you go to any store, you have to scan your barcode. It pretty much tells you how many times you've been out during the week. And, you know, it's very strict. You know, she had to renew her passport. She had run out of pages on her passport. And I was talking to my friend. She was like, Erica, I have so much anxiety right now because I'm having to go to Beijing from the part of China she lives in now. And she has to take a train to get there. And this is when, you know, this was probably like 3 weeks ago when they were still under their harsh, not say harsh, but the real stringent stay-at-home order. And so she had to ride a train. And the train that she rode was an 800-passenger train. But this train only was wanted to have 10 people on it. And each person had their own cart. So they had their own train cart. Only one person per train car. So she rode to Beijing, got her passport, her new passport, and then had to come back. She said, I was so scared, Erica. I didn't know. I was so terrified. She had to get her anxiety together, she said, but she made it through. So they are really taking precautions out in China. And so when we see them leveling out And we're like, okay, we can get better, but we are not doing anything in comparison to what China is doing. So, I don't know if our numbers will ever level out the way that they will until we get it together.
Wow, I didn't know China I knew China was strict, but I didn't know it was that strict. One
person they have
per car?
CCTV as well. Yeah, one person per train car. So, like the whole car, you know how you have a train and then you go over to the next one?
Mm-hmm.
You go through the door to the next. So one per, I don't know if it's called a cart or whatever it's called, but you know what I'm saying? It's only one person per full train. But yes, and so with that being said, they have CCTV, so they can see. They see everything. You know how we might, they say the government can see everything, but they really are looking at everything that people were doing. So that was the real shelter in place for that was a real shelter in place.
Wow. Well, let's shift and let's kind of talk about Georgia, and let's talk about what's happening in Georgia. And so during the course of the legislative session, a few of the members in the Senate were contracted coronavirus. And the governor's response was kind of slow. So, from being where you were there, what was the feeling that was going on in the Gold Dome when this was happening?
So let me back up just a little bit. So that was Monday. You were talking about Monday of I think the 14th. Mm-hmm. And let me back up a little bit. So the week before that, we had crossover day, which was Thursday. Mm-hmm. And we were there till about 1 o'clock in the morning, from about 8 a.m. to 1 o'clock in the morning. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that's a Thursday. So you just imagine how many hours we were there at the Capitol. Now, we didn't have it, and we knew that the coronavirus was out there. Now, our numbers weren't as large as they are now, but we knew that this was a pandemic. We knew that it was coming, and it actually was here. It wasn't coming, it was here. Okay, and at that time, we had already had a death. So let me just back up to that. So we were there for that many hours. We had no one checking us. No fevers were checked. There were no gloves. There were no masks, nothing. I was the only person on the House floor with Lysol. If anybody came over to my desk, I sprayed. When they left, when they came, when they were there, I took every precaution because I have an 8-month-old. And I could not bring coronavirus home to my house. So with that being said, what we didn't know was that, of course, we knew, of course, that when Trump came down, there were a couple of legislators that were with him. And then, the Congressman Doug Collins was there, and he had sheltered in place himself because he said that he had touched someone that had the coronavirus at a conference, a Republican conference. So we had already knew that it was potential people in the House floor that were around Doug Collins that might, you know what I mean? I knew we already that might have it. So I was like, you know what? I'm taking every precaution that I have. And so when they called us back, so that was that they had told us we adjourned. We fought with the Republicans because people don't really know this, but it was because of the Democrats that we got shut down because they were trying to keep us there. And we told them, look, we need to leave this Capitol. And so on Thursday, on that day, the speaker said that we were going to shut it down. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so he said on Friday, we'll come in. I'll come in. Nobody else has to come in. And we're shutting it down. So when we left on Thursday, I took my laptop. I took everything that I needed because I knew we were shutting down. Now, come when the governor was putting the shelter in place order in the law, what it says is once he puts the shelter in place order, which I think he did it on Friday, and it actually wrote it. He said he was going to do it on Friday and actually wrote it on Saturday, which is the craziest thing how our governor works because I don't understand why he announces that he's going to do something and then puts the order together. You should already have it in place and know what it is and then tell it to the people. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. So he put the shelter in order in place on that Saturday, which means that in the law, it says 2 days after. In the law, it says we have to convene. The legislator has to convene at 8 a.m. So that made it that Monday. Now, Sunday night at 8 p.m., okay, I'm fast forwarding. We're on Saturday, so now we're at Sunday. Mm-hmm. The speaker sent out a letter that said someone on the House floor, okay, may have the coronavirus, okay, has the symptoms of the coronavirus, may have the coronavirus. That was when they should have shut us down, okay? Mm-hmm. But they didn't. Me, what I did in leadership, I called my senior members, my members that are the most vulnerable, and I said, do not come in. I called Representative Roger Bruce, had a conversation with him because he was vulnerable. He's already had cancer last session. He had cancer. He's just in remission. I said, you do not need to come in. Make sure he didn't come in. I did not go in because I have a newborn. I made that choice. I said, I'm not going. I said, there's nothing at that Capitol. There's nothing that we can do at that Capitol that is going to be more important than the life of my children. So I did not go. Okay. And so I made that choice, and I'm glad that I made that choice because we had a state senator, Brandon Beach, that tested for the virus on Saturday and went in on Monday, got his test results on Monday when he left the Capitol. He got his results. So he should have never been at that Capitol, and now has infected 4 other senators, which is crazy. And we had to kind of even fight, that this happened. I can't even believe that this happened, that they let us happen, because they put us at risk.
And so
they did.
With all that going on in the state capitol, the governor still did not issue a shelter in place until a week or so later. Nope.
And not even that, even the worst part, you put people at risk because you knew that there was somebody that had coronavirus symptoms and that was getting a coronavirus test, and you still didn't shut it down to the public. There were public people there. So let's forget about the legislators for 1 second, and let's think about the public and the media and the people that could be infected by this that you let come into the Capitol. You understand what I'm saying? You should have shut it down that night at 8 p.m. We should have been shut down. And so with that being said, we should have had a shelter in place order then. And I don't know what is going through our governor's head, but that is when we should have shut it down.
Okay.
Because just imagine one more thing: you have 180 counties, right? Well, you have 180 counties. You have like 159 counties. 159 counties, right? But you have 180 members. Okay. The fastest way to infect all of Georgia is to ask them to convene, and you have someone there that has all of the symptoms or that has the coronavirus. That's the fastest way to infect Georgia. The fastest.
Wow. I never thought about it like that. And you're right, because you have a representative from each and every jurisdiction in Georgia, and then they got to go back home, and they're carriers. So let's kind of talk about the governor's response to all of this. I think initially, he convened his coronavirus task force, and he had Dr. Toomey there, and he said he was following the science, but he indicated that it was just contained to urban areas and one rural county, being Doherty County, and the cases were going up. At what point did the House members know the extent to which Georgia was in danger?
I knew that we were in danger the day that they all went into the Capitol and we had someone that was infected. I think that we knew that we had something on our hands once we all should have known that we had a pandemic on our hands from the first person that got here. If we would have shut down, can you just imagine? If we would have shut down for 1 week, just 1 week, the minute that we knew that it hit Georgia, we would not be at 10,000 today. We would not.
And so, are you guys getting the information the same time the public is getting information, or are you getting, forewarned about what's happening? Because it seems like the information is leaking out very slowly, and I don't think that the state government really took it serious until, the governor was put on blast around the entire world with his statements that he didn't know that it could be transmitted. It could be asymptomatic transmission. So is the Department of Public Health giving you guys the information and then release it to the public, or are they just giving it to the public?
So it just depends. So we get information. We have calls with the governor probably like once a week. We had a call today. We have White House calls about once a week. But the information that they're giving us is pretty much the information that the public is getting. Now, we try to ask those hard questions, and then that's when we can kind of get the answers. Like if we ask those questions, and they only let us submit a certain amount of questions. So like last call, out of all 75 of us, we only got 4 questions. So the questions that they let us ask, those are the times that we can get real answers. But I would say that, for example, I found out on social media that the election had been changed to June 9th.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know. We were not informed up until they put it out there to everyone else. So, it just depends. And let me just say this too, and this is not, this is a known fact. They're all fighting each other. The speaker, I don't think the speaker is agreeing with the Secretary of State, and the Secretary of State, is not agreeing with the speaker. The speaker is in, fights with the governor. Like, they are not all they're not all peachy right now. So with that being said, it's like back and forth, because even with this election being changed to June 9th, the governor wanted it to be June 16th. He's been sending us emails about it. It's just, we are finding out stuff whenever they want to tell us stuff. And like I tell my members, is that we're in the minority. And so when it comes to being in the minority, it's just, they're really pretty much telling us what the heck to do. And then we fight it and we put it in the media, and then sometimes we can win. But for example, we were supposed to go back to the Capitol on April the 13th in the resolution that was passed, where they risked their lives there on Monday, right? Mm-hmm. But guess what? There was really no point of us going on Monday. There was no point, because there was an accident that happened, and that accident is that. So let me just back up, just kind of let your listeners kind of understand what this means. So the governor only has executive power for 30 days. Okay, that's what we passed. Now, in order for him to have executive power after April 15th, we would have to go back into the Capitol and vote on that. Okay. Now, in the clause, which took them so long because we voted that we have to come back to give him the power. Now, the Senate didn't like that. The Senate just wanted to give him the power unlimited, so we don't have to come back and he can just have, executive power until he decides himself out, right? Mm-hmm. But we didn't want that. So they came back to the House, and we made a compromise that we come back on April 15th, unless we can't come back on April 13th, to give him more power, unless we can't. But if we can, if we're able-bodied and we're all not, coronavirus out, we can come back to the Capitol and vote to see if he gets that power. Now, for me, I believe that he probably don't need that power no more. He can take that back for all he's doing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But the whole point is that the speaker got on the phone and said the Senate clerk dropped the ball and forgot, or didn't get the paperwork in time enough for us to come back to session on April 15th.
So
now, if that's not some bull, I've never heard. I mean, that is the craziest thing. I don't know.
So how were you guys able to vote to extend it then? I mean, was it a televote?
So the clause that the Senate, no. The clause that the Senate put in. Remember, the Senate didn't want us to come back at all. Mm-hmm. Remember? Mm-hmm. So you see what they did. They didn't want us to come back. So the Senate put a clause in there. If we're not able to come back, then he automatically gets to have the power extended.
Okay.
And see, now all of a sudden, the Senate clerk accidentally did not get the paperwork in time enough for us to be coming back next week to vote to see if we should give him this power or if we shouldn't give him the power extension.
All right. So,
but you see, they got what they wanted no matter what.
Yeah, they did. So I guess my question now is, now that we're over 10,000 cases and we have 2,000 individuals hospitalized and 369 people that have succumbed to this, are we on the same page as far as what our response is going to be, or are we still kind of just letting the virus dictate what we're going to do?
Well, I like to say it like this. I wouldn't like to say that it's weak. I would like to say that the governor is letting the virus dictate what it's going to do. I can't say enough that there are so many health workers out there. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, every time he gets up there and he stands and he talks about, all the things that he's done, because he goes through the list before he talks about what he's going to do. You know that. Mm-hmm. But the things that really need to be done aren't getting done. Like, all of our healthcare workers need to have their pay. Everybody should be getting double pay right now that are risking their lives. I can't not tell you the number right now, but there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds Are you listening to me? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of healthcare workers in our Georgia system that have the virus that are still at work. And with that being said, there are so many things that are happening that need that trumps whatever he's trying to say that he's doing. You know, shutting down the beaches is one thing, but we need to be going back to the Capitol and figuring it out. And even if it's, and they threw that out, by the way, we did ask them if we could do a televote or vote by proxy or voice vote, like other nations, like other capitals are doing. Mm-hmm. But they said no. So we need to really figure this out, and I don't think it needs to be one person. I think it needs to be a collaboration of the rest of the legislators trying to figure out. It needs to be more people, figuring out what is going on with this coronavirus. Because I hate to say that we're leaving it up to this man, and we are not going to level out for a while. You know, and not even just about leveling out. We don't even know the extent of where we are right now, Griggs, because people aren't getting tested.
Yeah, and that's
I have one person that came to me and asked me. He said, "Erica, I cannot go get it." I told them I have the symptoms, and they said to shelter in place and stay home for 14 days. Like, people are not getting tested, and there are tests out there. There are companies out there that cannot say that there's not. There are companies out there. There are people out there that want to do these tests. There's a test out there right now that's FDA approved. It's not OUA approved, but it's FDA approved, and it's a 15-minute test. It's a blood test, and you can know in 15 minutes. But my friend, Councilman Antonio Brown, he has been working with that company. He has 3,000 of those tests. He has raised the money and paid for 3,000 of those tests, but cannot get them. The governor is giving him, the government's office is giving him the red light on getting those tests to people, and he wants to be able to give those to minorities and Black people.
So let me ask you this, because of course we've only tested about 37,000 individuals, and the governor keeps talking about we have all these tests and the tests are available. But when you start looking at the numbers that they're releasing, in a state of 10.5 million people, testing 37,000 is not doing anything. What can the people do to put pressure on Governor Kemp and the individuals he's depending on? What can they do to apply pressure to make him change? Because we've seen him change in real time with now releasing the racial statistics and being more forthcoming with why he's not closing the beaches, even though that excuse is ridiculous. But what can the people do to apply pressure? Because we're not getting this information from the mainstream media, and it's very concerning.
I hate to be like this, but I think the biggest thing that the people can do is to call their representatives and to call the governor's office. Call them. The number, the constituent services office number is 404-656-1776. It's 404-656-1776. Tell him yourself. Tell his office yourself. Flood him with enough calls to say that we deserve answers. I mean, I know that people might say, "Oh, wait, no, that's not what I'm telling you. When I say when you start calling, when the people that vote start calling, things happen."
Well, that's how we got the shelter in place.
I'm telling you.
So let's talk about this.
Yeah.
We know that disproportionately African Americans are being affected by this. We know the numbers now. It's 20% because of the calls that are infected with the virus and are succumbing to the virus. But how can we, as the most affected group, get the message out to everybody else that this is a problem in the African American community?
If we don't know that it's a problem, then we have to get. I mean, I think that we have to start using social media. We have to start using our celebrities. We have to start using people to let people know, because again, we have a lot of underlying conditions, a lot of heart conditions, and people don't understand. People with cardiovascular conditions are one of the number one group of people that are dying from this disease. Cardiovascular, heart problems, and asthma, Okay, asthma, cardiovascular problems, diabetes. All of these problems are underlying conditions that you might live through every day as day to day. You're okay, but if you contract COVID-19, then it's not a live through every day. You're going to get okay. It doesn't matter if you're 80. It doesn't matter if you're 50, 60, 70, 18, 19, 20. If you have an underlying condition, then you're going to be in the same place as a 90-year-old. I watched one story of a guy, and he can't even walk right now. And this is a black man. I don't know if you saw this story. I know it went viral. He cannot even use his limbs because he has the coronavirus. It has affected him and he's 44 years old. I mean, he could run off he could run off all of the things, run every day, walk every day, the best of shape. But we have to understand that we are not immune to this disease. And more people need to be saying it. More people need to be letting us know. I know that I'm going to do a video breaking down. I'm going to do a video breaking down, of course, the stimulus check and a couple other different things. But I am going to try to do a video talking about minorities and how they're affected and breaking it down, because people really need to understand that we are not to this, because Africa is not on the number one list. It's not pink that African Americans can't get it.
Yeah. And so let me ask you this. Have you been in contact with any of the healthcare providers, particularly in your district, namely because you have, Wellstar right there on Austell Road? Have you spoken to them, and how are they doing as their capacity?
So we have a call with them tomorrow. We have a call with Wellstar tomorrow at 11 a.m. So I'll know more then. But I do have people that I know that work there that I've talked to. And, some of the nurses are using it. These are nurses from all different, not just Wellstar, but all different hospitals. But they're having to use, the same mask, every day, and just different things that we need that they're not getting. So what I would say is that these healthcare workers, I just cannot say it enough that people don't really understand what these healthcare workers are really going through. I have one friend, she's the owner of WebWed, and she marries couples virtually. Okay. And so one of her number one right now, other than U.S., is Italy, that she's marrying people, but New York. She's getting a lot of people at the hospitals in New York. She had one person 2 weeks ago that she married a couple. They both had coronavirus. She married them in the hospital, and then the next week the wife died. People are marrying not just because of love, but just because of love, and they're really ready to get married right now, but they love their spouse so much that they want them to be able to have the benefits when they die. I just saw an email that the lady said, it was a physician. She said, I just want my partner to get my Social Security benefits when I die. How soon can you marry us? Like, these things are real. Like, people are really putting their life on the line. I have another friend, one of my good friends, works at Piedmont. She has not seen her child in 2.5 weeks, except for FaceTime, because she cannot go home to see him. Most of the physicians are at Airbnbs, are at hotels, because they cannot go home to see their family. Just imagine, a physician can afford that. But what if you're a cleaner at Wellstar? What if you are just a CNA? What if you are just or not just, but what if you are a receptionist, risking your life every day for that $12 an hour?
Or the janitors.
Yeah, the janitors. Yeah, cleaner. Risking your life every day for $12 an hour, for $10 an hour, and you can't get, hazard pay.
Wow.
Can you imagine? You can't. So listen to this. You can't afford a hotel to go to every day. So you're going back home after you've cleaned all this stuff, you've done all this stuff, and your family's at risk. It is real. 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 And people are suffering, and we don't even know. I have 56,000 people in my district, and I don't even, I get so many calls, so many emails, but there's so many people that I haven't got to just yet. And we don't really know the extent of this. These numbers are not real. I look at these numbers and they're not real to me. Mm-hmm. Because we don't know who really has this disease. We don't know all the people that have it. And I believe, and I hate to be like this, but in the next 2 weeks, you're going to see some astronomical numbers. And you're going to see astronomical numbers on the hospitalization side, and you're going to see astronomical numbers when it comes to deaths and everything else. And until we get it through the top's head, the person that's at the very top, until it gets through his head that this is serious, until someone, now I don't want to say that, but you understand where I'm going. Until something happens to someone, that is when we will really have the shutdown that we believe in. Because it's not just about the economy right now. I understand that Republicans believe in free markets. Republicans don't believe in too much government. Government shouldn't tell you how to run your job. Government shouldn't tell you how to run your business. I understand that. But if we care about the people, if we care about the constituents of this state, not just about the businesses, then we would shut it down until we have leveled out and have the proper precautions, not just leveled out, but we have the proper precautions, enough masks, enough Lysol, enough everything that we need, PPEs, ventilators, till we have what we need in this state to operate with astronomical numbers, with huge numbers. We need to shut it down.
And I definitely agree with you. And so, with the last few minutes that we have left, I mean, from the numbers that we do have, and again, I doubt these numbers because, of the lag time on the testing. But currently they're showing that there are 601 individuals in Cobb County and 29 deaths. What would you say to your constituents now who are suffering from this or who have lost family members that have succumbed? Because like you said, these are just numbers right now, but we want to bring that human side. So what would you say to those individuals who are currently suffering and have had family members transition?
What I would say is, no one really knows the right word to say unless you've been through this. And I can't say, that, I can say that I'm sorry. I can say that, I want to be that help. But at the end of the day, the only thing that I can do for them is help them and bring them justice. And the only justice that they can get is for the government to do what they're supposed to do and keep others from dying. That is the only justice that we can do for these people, is to shut it down so that no one else has to experience what they have experienced. So no one else has to call their wife on FaceTime to get their last words in with them. So no one has to say, I didn't have anyone with me when I was dying, because they were not allowed to be in the hospital. The only thing that we can do is do the right thing, and that is shut down the state. Use the money, the $100 million. Use that money to get the healthcare workers what they need, to get the healthcare workers that hazard pay, and to help with the families of the ones that have died. That is all we can say to these people. And I'm very sorry, and I hate it. You don't understand. I know you understand, but when you've got a couple people calling your phone, when you've got people in your district, I told someone the other day, I said, I have a campaign to run, but I can't think about a campaign right now when I have people dying, people that are losing their cars are getting repoed because they can't work right now. That's one thing nobody has addressed. What about that? People that can't even make it to work, if they wanted to get another job because their cars are gone. I have one situation I got to deal with when I get off the phone with you right now. It's a lot of different things that are going on, but at the end of the day, the only justice that we can give these people is doing the right thing, shutting it down, let it level out, and then open it back up.
Definitely. So how can people get in touch with you if they have any questions or concerns, and what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Perfect. Well, you can DM me on Instagram. If you're on Instagram, it's Erica Thomas. And also the best contact though is to email me. It's erica.thomas@house.ga.gov. It's erica.thomas @house.ga.gov. Or you can call my executive assistant at 404-656-7859. Vanessa is there until 5 o'clock. Well, she's at home. Until 5 o'clock every day, and she is there to answer your phone calls and see what we can do to help with resources for you, because there's so many resources out there: utility assistance, rental assistance, mortgage assistance, resources out there, unemployment benefits that can help you, and we can guide you in the right direction.
Well, we really appreciate everything you're doing for the state and particularly for your district. And of course, Justicefighter Podcast is always open as a platform for you to speak directly to the people. Any last words that you want to give the people as we go to the next pod?
All I want to say is that, we will get through this. I'm not pushing God on everybody, but I believe in God, and I believe that we will get through this. I believe that, eyes will be opened and like never before. And but I do believe that we will get through this, and we just have to keep praying, and we just have to keep a positive attitude, and stay home. Stay home is what I will say. And I also want to say thank you so much, Attorney Griggs, for doing this and putting it out there. I've been seeing you on every single day, giving people updates, and it's amazing because people need to know what is going on, and they need to know in under a minute. And you've been doing it really, really great, and I really appreciate what you're doing with this podcast. People need to know the truth, and you're getting it out there to them.
Well, I appreciate you. And Erica, like I said before, anytime you need to come on the platform, it's here for you. And guys, thank you for tuning in to Justicefighter Podcast. We are on every single podcast service that you can think of, and we will be with you all the way through this and until we get to the other side. So this is Attorney Gerald Griggs of Justicefighter. Love you guys, and see you at the next pod.
This is the Justicefighter Podcast. Justicefighter Podcast with Attorney Gerald Griggs. Attorney G. Where we have conversations on social justice, civil rights, and political news that affects us all. Let Attorney Griggs put you on game. Only on the Justicefighter Podcast, y'all.